Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the Wayward Lasses podcast. I'm your host, Brittany, joined by my sister, Courtney.
Hello, sister.
And our mother, Amy.
Hello, ladies.
Hello. We always forget to tell people we tend to do British accents every now and then. So that happens. And today we have our very special guest, Kaeley Clark.
Yay.
Hello. How's it going?
Hello.
Hello.
Doing well. We're so excited that you are here. And I'm sorry, it's Kaeley Clark-Reed, right?
Yes. And sometimes I just abbreviate it to KCR because it is such a mouthful. I do regret hyphenating my last name a little bit, but that's okay.
I thought about hyphenating my last name, but my original last name was Master Mateo, and my new last name is Cunningham, and I feel like that would just be way too much.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Alias.
All right. Well, like I said, we are interviewing Miss Kaeley today, and she is the owner of KCRCreativeKits. But before we dive into her business and her story, we are going to start off with some trivia. And I believe, Courtney, you've got that trivia for us.
I do. So the topic of trivia today it's movie trivia, and it's from the 2000s. So let's jump in. First one. Which year did Lindsay Lohan's American teen comedy movie Mean Girls premiere?
Oh boy.
I can stay away from the year ones if it doesn't work.
Who gets
2002.
the answer? Can anyone jump in?
Yeah, anybody can jump in.
Okay. I'm gonna say 2003.
Ooh, very close. 2004. You guys are right in the ballpark. You guys are right in the ballpark.
That was actually my original instinct.
I gotta go with the original instinct.
The original.
All right, next question. What role did Renee Zellweger play in 2001, 2004, and 2016? They were romantic comedy movies based on the desperate life of a 30-year-old single female living in the UK. Anybody?
Bridget Jones's Diary.
Yes.
Bridget Jones.
Bridget Jones. All right, next one. Brittany, you might know this. In which movie does unemployed Dewey Finn pretend to be substitute teacher Ned Schneebly?
The name Dewey sounds familiar.
Ned Schneebly doesn't sound familiar?
Ned Schneebly. I can't even say it.
Jack Black's.
Yes. Yes.
Schoolhouse Rock.
I keep wanting to say Schoolhouse Rock. That's not right.
That's not it?
You're right there.
What is it?
It is it. That's it. Schoolhouse Rock.
School of Rock.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Together, we all got that one.
All right, here's an easy one. Who played the live-action Grinch?
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Well, very good. All right. Which Office actor played their biggest movie role in the 2005 film 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Steve Carell.
Yes. Ma, you okay over there, Ma? Mom's like,
Smile.
All right, I'll do a couple more. These seem to be nice and easy here. Which movie was the one to bring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie together?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Yep.
Nice one.
I'm not doing too good anymore.
Okay, here's one, Britt.
That was really the first time that they were in a movie together, I guess.
Yeah. I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
Such a great movie. Who played the iconic Captain Jack Sparrow starting in 2003?
Oh, Johnny.
That's easy.
That's what I said.
Good old Johnny.
Good old Johnny. I gave you an easy one. All right, let's look for something a little different here. Which 2008 comedy was based on two middle-aged losers becoming a blended family when their parents married?
Oh, Step Brothers.
You are killing it.
She's killing it.
Kaeley won.
Kaeley won trivia.
Movies were just really good in the 2000s, I guess.
They were.
Do you guys
want to things were really good in the 2000s. Let's do one more.
All right. Who plays Lindsay Lohan's mom in Freaky Friday?
Jamie
Is
Lee
that Jamie
Curtis.
Curtis?
You
Yeah.
guys are faster than me. Good job.
Good job,
Good job,
guys.
all. Very good. Very
Those are some good
good.
That
movies. Go back and
was
watch
fun.
some. Yes, we love
Kaylee won
trivia.
trivia.
You did. You were pretty amazing at it. It was a good category for you.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and hop into today's business. And as we get started, Kaylee, could you briefly kind of introduce yourself to our listeners and let us know just a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm Kaeley, obviously. Long last name, Clark-Reed, but I am a new small business owner, but more importantly, my favorite title is mom. I've got two little ones. My daughter Eva just turned 4 in December. My son Owen just turned 1 at the end of November. And I'm married to James, my husband, my best friend. We've got 2 dogs, and we just moved out from the Austin, Texas suburbs to Greenville, South Carolina. So that happened in April, and that's been a pretty big change, but also a very fun one. Um, and I'm a big proponent of female empowerment, female entrepreneurs, all of that. Um, and I own KCR Creative Kits. I also have a full time job. And like I said, the 2 little kids. So I just am fueled by coffee. I cleared off my desk. Otherwise, I would maybe pan around to show you how many coffee mugs are on my desk right now.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, just living the dream and sleeping very little, but it's great.
And could you describe to us what KCR Creative Kits is, what it is that you're selling, and how you kind of jumped into that? What was your passion behind it, and why these
Yeah.
kits?
Well, COVID was a really terrible thing, but it is what kind of pushed me into this because back in the heyday of COVID, if you will, in the thick of it, all of a sudden my husband and I were both working from home, and we had no childcare for my daughter Eva, who then was around 2. Um, and it was just a really big struggle to figure out how we were going to work and keep her entertained and engaged without being on a screen all day, whether it be the iPad or the TV. And I always like to preface by saying when I talk about this stuff, I am not opposed to screens. I would be lying if I said that I was a mom who didn't believe in screens or who didn't use them, because I definitely do. But um, we just found that trying to keep her busy was a challenge, and keep her busy long enough for us to get work done, honestly. And then I started to really worry, our kids, they're not in school and they're missing out on a lot of those really important developmental milestones because of COVID. So I used to just stay up and go on Pinterest like a lot of other moms would do. And I stumbled upon my own homemade, or someone else's homemade Play-Doh recipe. So we did it a couple of times. Um, and I eventually just kind of got tired of the mess and it being left out, and then all the other stuff just everywhere. So I got to this point where I just started keep telling my daughter, who's 2 at the time, so she listened about half of the time, maybe. Hey, we're going to clean all this up and put it back into a container. Um, Otherwise, it's going to dry out. And it just started to develop into a thing where I eventually started coming up with themes. Um, and we started doing weekly learning themes. So this week we're going to learn about seasons, and I would kind of do the Play-Doh and different activities related to that, and then package it all back up into kits. And then fast forward, I would do that for her little play dates and parties to keep the kids entertained. Eventually, then moved out here, and there just seemed like no one else was doing that out here. So I thought, why not? And in October, so not very long ago, I created the business formally, and instead of just giving stuff to friends and family, I'm now selling kits and doing a lot of vendor events, local events where I'll have a booth. I'm hosting sensory kit bars
Oh.
um, for birthday parties, which is really fun, and doing school, Valentine's, or I did a bunch of Halloween. Instead of candy, kids could give out little mini kits, and even birthday party favors. So it's gotten um, really, really big and exciting for me. So that's pretty much it. But who knows what will come next?
Love that. That was super cool. I for anybody who's listening, watching, Kaeley sent us ahead of time some of her kits and let my kids play with them today, and they were so excited. And like the Play-Doh was amazing. Like I loved it. I loved playing with it. It was so soft and it was glittery. My kids loved it, and I just thought to myself, like, I wonder what they're going to do with this, because we have Play-Doh, and they were just the packaging was so cute,
Yeah.
and they were just so excited to open something and just look what was inside. And we did the kinetic sand one too with the pirate treasure hunt. And they were like, they did this for over an hour. I was shocked. I was like, these little tiny kids. And they like loved it. I really, I was so impressed that they, it held their attention for so long. It was super cool.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
It's nice because sensory play is really big for development. So there's a lot to it that you wouldn't think how important it would be, but it's really strengthening cognitive skills, fine motor skills,
Mm-hmm.
and creativity, which is so important. And all of that is really great. But sometimes on a Saturday, I just will bust out a kit and I get to just sit and drink my coffee for a little bit. And that's okay too. So a lot of the kits I like to try to have specific learning modules or activities behind it, if you will. But I try to make it so that there can be a lot of different mini activities in some of the bigger kits and make it a good experience. But my favorite thing is just seeing what each kid comes up with. It's really fun. That's what I loved about the monster kits and seeing those pictures that y'all did. It's really cute.
Yeah.
So tell us about the kits, though, Kaeley. Is this something that came about as an idea of asking your kids? Is it something that you thought they would be interested? And then, like Courtney talked about, packaging. How did you come up with this awesome, adorable packaging? When I opened my box, I was like, this is so cool. I don't know if I would have, come up with something with a design like this.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. How did you even figure out how to do this?
It's just all trial by error. I have the Dollar Tree to thank for a lot of it, to be
Yes.
honest. But, it making the dough is kind of cumbersome, and I just would get a little bit aggravated when
Yeah.
we would make it and then play with it and it would get crusty and just thrown away or whatever. So I just found that if we could get it into the airtight containers, that it actually will last for almost a year.
Oh.
Um, and I know, crazy, right? And what's different about that dough too is the Play-Doh that we get from the store has a lot of preservatives in it, and obviously this dough does not. Everything inside of it is what you would bake with: flour, salt, cream of tartar,
Oh.
coloring, obviously, and water. Yeah, so just really straightforward stuff. So, vegetable oil, that was the last one. And if it gets left out for a couple hours, it's not a big deal. You can knead it back together, and the little crystallization, which can happen if it gets cold too, it's kind of sensitive. But if you need it, it will bounce back. But maybe not if it's left out for a couple of days. And when I was playing with my daughter, let's say we used dough one day and we were making a pretend forest.
Mm-hmm.
All of the forest pieces would go everywhere, and I'd be like going to the bathroom and I would see like a little pebble or a little tree. And it's kind of frustrating. I was working pretty hard back in those days to try to craft all these lessons. So um I think that the first jar that I had was left over from some kind of makeup thing that I got.
Mm.
And I just, I literally just picked it up like, oh, this will fit the dough and all the other stuff, and crammed it in there. So that kind of launched into the concept of theming everything. So all the kits have their own theme,
Right.
But my whole goal here, the business model, if you will, is twofold. Like, I want the children to have a great experience and all of that, but I also want to be a friend to parents. So the concept is, hey, we're going to have this kit and you're going to play with it and however long you want to play with it. And when you're done, we are going to shove everything back in here, because if we can, and then put it away, you'll be able to play with it again in a week or a month or a year. And you can kind of just cycle them in and out. So we have probably at this point, maybe about 20 or 30 different kits just hanging out in my craft room. And so when she's bored, I just send her in there to grab one. So it all just very trial by an error,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's my favorite thing about it, though, is that I have 3 kids, but my 2 little ones were playing with them, and it was like we had to we had to clean up quick and get ready for bed, and it was just boop, put it right in, and I could just throw it in my bag, the diaper bag, or their backpacks or whatever, and they could just take it out and play with it and make something completely new. So it's so creative.
Yeah, that's funny because I did a pop-up event at a coffee shop once, and these folks were there. They bought a kit for their child on the spot, and then they came back to me after and they said, I think we just had our first date in like weeks, months, because he sat there and just played with that and didn't even talk to us. And I was like, yeah, that's I don't know,
cool.
something about like you said, the packaging, kids will open it and be like, oh, this is just so cute. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of a funny thing. But even my cousin's got a almost 4-year-old daughter and then a 14-year-old daughter. And so the 14-year-old, she's very hands-on with the kids, and sits there and plays with them. And when I bring them kits, like Thanksgiving, we did a make your own turkey kit. I always bring an extra for her because she gets into it too. And she plays with the kids. And I'm like, hey, don't worry, I got one for you too. It's not just for kids. We all deserve a moment to just kind of tune out, And so I usually have something by my desk. I have the past couple of days I was hanging out with, this is Olaf. So I did
It's cute.
yeah.
Here's my guy. He's sitting here with me.
I love that. It yours almost reminds me of Peppa Pig. That's so cute.
Yeah, it does, Brittany.
That's where we got the hello sister from.
Yeah.
That's what she says. Hello, sister.
Yeah. So.
Were you a teacher? Because you were.
I was,
you can tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before COVID.
I love that. Yeah, I was a teacher too for 7 years, public high school, and I can just. What did you teach? What area were you?
2nd grade.
Okay, so you can just totally tell because I've got so many things I want to say, but I think I'm going to start with this. It is not just for kids because I have 3 kits here. I ordered the pirate treasure one and the dinosaur one. Mm-hmm. And then I told her there is eggs that you can hatch, guys. So I'm going to crack it open. And then there's there's a little baby dinosaur inside.
How did you do that?
So it's just mine. It's just awesome. And I have it sitting here. And I noticed today while I was at work, instead of picking up my phone and scrolling, I took out one of these kits and I made my little Peppa Pig guy. And I started setting up my little dinosaur scene. And they have a watering hole and there's a little treasure area. And I just love it. I have it by my desk and I use it. But I noticed with the pirate treasure one that you have this paper that came with it, and it kind of points out to parents hey, you should try to do this with them, have them count this, have them search for that. And I just love that you've when I started looking at this, I was like, she's got to be a teacher because there's so much into it that really does bring out the sensory of it, and it has them, not just give them the ability to be creative and do their own thing with something that's non-hazardous, but be able to use something educational out of it. And I really do love that. I love that you incorporated the
Yeah.
educational aspect of it.
Yeah, I want to get to the point where I can do something of that nature with all the kits. One of my bigger goals is a subscription. So
Mhm.
going down more of the subscription services route, but that takes a lot of planning and such. But then that would afford me the opportunity to have more content, and they're meant to be. I think we all need to recognize that that it is okay to say, like, we don't always have the ability to sit there with our kids.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to, and I always like to make my disclaimer that if they're old enough, we don't have to worry about them putting the little tiny things in their mouths. So usually about 3 and up, like, I like walking away from my daughter and like letting her play with it and come back and see what she made, and then doing my thing. But when I have time, um, you can they're already engaged, and they're excited, and they're kind of distracted in the sense that if you're gonna start sneaking in little learning moments, they don't see that as teaching. um, or Sometimes my daughter gets annoyed with me when we're reading and I'm like trying to push her with those pre-reading skills. I could tell she knows what I'm up to, and she's like, oh, mom. But if she's playing with hands-on stuff, and I'm like, wow, which egg do you think is bigger? Um, those are actually really valuable teaching moments for
Yeah.
especially the little ones. And we can be kind of sneaky. It's like the concept of sneaking vegetables and fruit into things. Um, so the treasure hunt one was that's my only one that has kinetic sand, but I'm obsessed with kinetic sand, and I think I'm gonna do a couple more with kinetic sand.
Yeah.
It's a little bit messier, but I love it.
I love kinetic sand too. I love to play with it.
Oh yeah.
It's so interesting that you brought that up because I'm actually like in a standstill with my 4-year-old because he's a little too young for preschool because he was born in December. And so we're working with him
Oh,
on.
we have that in common.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
we're having like difficulty, and I'm trying to get him ready for kindergarten, and he's just like tapped out. He's like, nope, I'm done with whatever you have for me. I'm not doing it. And I never thought of using a sensory kit or Play-Doh or kinetic sand like as a learning experience. It just never like clicked for me. So you've helped me with that, even just in our brief conversation, because I'm going to try it with him. He was so in tune and so excited about playing with this little kit today that I'm like, I'm excited. I'm like,
Yeah.
can't wait to try it.
Right. Yeah, that's it's an interesting age. She was I noticed she was just like really ready to sit there and hear everything I had to say around like 2 or 3, but 4 or 5, they really start developing those stronger personalities. And
That's a nice word for it.
yes. But if our 5 senses are a big deal to us as humans. I taught second grade, so I mean, it's not like I was a high school science teacher or something, and I have a background in this. But if we can appeal to those 5 senses, um, they're going to be more willing to sit and absorb like the little sponges that they are. So um, make it fun. You know,
Yeah.
they're only kids once. I just got to make it fun. And part of this is selfish too, because I do miss teaching. I'm creating like the lesson plans and stuff, but just the creativity to it. For some reason, my daughter right now, she loves everything that's cute and little. The tinier the better. The teeny tiny Legos, which is so much fun. Having a 1-year-old that follows her everywhere. Everything is teeny tiny, but I have a lot of fun picking out the different accessories that I'm gonna put. Like with Olaf here,
Love him.
how excited I was when I found these sunglasses. Y'all would think that I got a new pair of shoes or something. I geek out over it, and I think it's okay to let ourselves get excited about silly little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Do you have
Do
a
you?
favorite kit?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Of all the kits, I'm looking on your website. I'm like, I like this. I like that. Is there one in particular that you love?
yeah, I don't. Gosh, and I don't even have them all up there. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I know. I need to get them all up there. Um, I think that I just put it up there, but I really like this fairy gnome garden kit that we just started doing. I made a prototype because I'm going to go to a Renaissance festival and sell them in June. And I really like that one because it's just all the cute little things that go into it. And my daughter's been playing with that one a lot lately. And I just like hearing her make up little stories and the unicorn talking to the gnome and the butterfly or the ladybug
The
is
bumblebee.
missing
Oh.
and we need to go find it and just that one she's gotten really into, which makes it kind of my favorite kit. So
This
Yeah.
is I love this one. This is awesome. I'm gonna have to order something else.
I love that you. My mom loves gnomes, so I'm so glad that you mentioned that you are starting a gnome
I don't know
one.
if you see her little gnome sitting on top of her microphone, but
that's funny. My husband is giving me some grief lately because it's been hard to find gnome stuff that's tiny because a lot of the like gnomes are a lot of people are decorating with gnomes. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
y'all have noticed, but I have like 20 tabs open on my web browser and they were all like researching gnomes. He's like, "What is with you and gnomes right now?" I'm like, well, I gotta find the right one. So it needs to be the perfect gnome and nice and small. They're cute.
yeah,
I
So
love
cute.
that.
it's awesome. Brittany, did you have a
Um,
question? Sorry, go.
yeah, I just wanted to know. You kind of talked about how you went from being a teacher to be now you work from home and you have a full-time job in your side business. Could you talk to us a little bit about the difficulties and struggles that you had? I guess starting up your business and you kind of overcoming of that and getting to the point where you've got this website now and you're selling and you're doing all the things that you're doing now.
Oh boy. I think that I am actively overcoming some obstacles still. It's a really big work in progress. And I've just leaned into community a lot. Meeting people and just trying to be vulnerable enough to just say I'm new. I don't really know what I'm doing. And asking for help has been really important. Setting up the Etsy shop was hard for me. A lot of times my creative brain is a little bit stronger than my like logistics part of my brain. So time management has been a really big thing that I've had to get better at and overcome. Um, I mean, just as like y'all can attest to, just as moms, you feel like you constantly have so many balls that you're juggling in the air, um, and taking this on and making this passion a business in October. I already knew I didn't exactly have time for it. Um, I just kind of had to make time for it and be okay with having a messy house. Um, be okay with the fact that I kid you not, my Christmas tree is still up. My lights are not turned on, but my Christmas trees, I'm glad I'm not alone. Um, I can't juggle all the balls every day. One is going to drop. And I'm kind of learning to rotate which balls I'm going to drop that day and which balls I'm going to hold on to and be okay with that because I don't know about anybody else. I haven't found a way to get it all done. I'm not sure if that completely answered your question, but that's about how fried my brain is at, at this point.
No, I think that makes perfect sense because I think as a teacher, we are expected to juggle every single ball, and I think as teachers, we do a very good job of doing that. But leaving the field, I feel like I'm agreeing with that more. There are now a lot of balls that I'm juggling because I have, a small little Etsy shop. I have two little Etsy shops, and we do the podcast, and I'm doing
Yeah.
a side business with my mom, and I have a full time job, and I have all of these balls that I'm juggling now. And I agree. I like that you put it that way, being okay with the fact that a ball is going to drop, and still getting on with the day and kind of picking and choosing which ball you're going to drop that day, because we can't be perfect. And I think it's important to kind of point that out and be okay with the fact that, it's okay that we're not perfect.
Yeah, I have a unique twist too because my son's home, so my daughter goes to a like a preschool program, but my son's home with me, and I work from home, and I work in the fintech industry, so I work for a financial technology company. So I mean, it's I do a lot of training, which it very much speaks to the teaching background, of course, but um there my schedule is flexible, and I love that job. I really do. And I have a babysitter that comes and helps me during my busier parts of the day. But like today, I was supposed to I had an hour carved out to do a project, and like my son is sick, and he just needed extra cuddles, and
Hmm.
like, okay, that project's just not going to get done today, and I will figure it out tomorrow, and it'll be okay. I think it's just a lot for me. It's a lot of like in the moment decision making, like where does my time need to go right
Mhm.
now? And I don't always make the right decision. Um, but dealing with the consequences afterward, if that makes sense. Sometimes I also have to prioritize work, and
Yeah.
I can hear my son crying with the babysitter, and I know that I could go help them, but
Mm.
I'm like, well, I have a meeting with my CEO right now, and I mean, I need to do that. And it hurts, and it sucks in the moment, when you're
Yeah.
not able to do it all. Um, and I'm really hard on myself, but when I'm having conversations and talking about it, I realize, it's my kids are getting a mom that's pursuing a passion, and I feel like that ideally that is going to give them a better mom than, um, does that hopefully that makes sense, but
Mhm.
all about making those in the moment decisions. What am I going to do with my time right now? What's most important, and just fingers crossed it works out.
Yeah. But what you said is so important because, like, we're talking about having so many things to juggle. It's so easy to get so overwhelmed, especially as moms. So, just even hiring a babysitter, asking for help. Like, I think moms, you touched on it a little bit, but moms have to be okay with saying, you know what, I can't do it all. And that's okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't make me less valuable as a mom. It doesn't make me weak that I have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's so important. It's like so important to talk about that, I think, because there's a lot of pressure on moms, especially during this time where a lot of people I know work from home as well, and they're doing the same. They're trying to juggle home life and work, and it's like a whole new
Yeah.
era of work-life balance that people are trying to
It
figure out.
is.
And it's even
Yeah.
more so like easier to get overwhelmed than I mean, for me, than it was like in the past. So I think that just what you just said is great advice for anybody listening. Like, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to hire that babysitter if you need to. It's okay to be
Yeah.
present in the moment and say no when you need to say no and set those boundaries. That's not talked about enough. Something that's so important, I think.
Yeah. And with having a full-time job and in my company, I've been there for a while. I was the first mom. So it's like the first real maternity leave. The first when I had my son, I was the first mom, and since then we've grown. So we've hired other women that do have children. Um, but maybe a couple of times I was a couple minutes late to a meeting or something, and I would just apologize and say like I'm sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late. Like, let's get to it, and um, I get my work done, so no one would ever say like, oh, this is an issue. But I always thought to myself, if they asked, and I would just say, like, I, I'm a mom, and I had to deal with this. And that is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, my babies come first.
Yeah.
No matter if it doesn't serve my rule of thumb that helps with all the decision making and stuff. If it doesn't serve me or my family, I'm out. So
Yeah.
that helps.
So, if you don't mind me asking, is your company relatively small? Is it uh, a
Mm,
large company, or
there's about almost 40 of us now.
and it's just like in the Greenville area?
No, we're based out of Philadelphia, and
Oh,
all over the place. Yeah,
Hmm.
because it's
okay.
a software, so any financial planner can use it, all over the country. So all of my coworkers, everybody is spread out.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's like the way that a lot of things are just nowadays.
Yeah, the only
So
reason I had asked that is because you said you're the first mom on your team in your company, or
hmm
your team,
company.
a company. So I
Yeah.
think and I was asking about how large your company is, because oftentimes, and you may be the one who's actually paving the road, is the culture, right? If you don't have that many moms in the company,
hmm
then people don't necessarily know how to react, or how to give you that time that you need. Or, yeah, it's okay if you're a few minutes late, not a big deal. So whatever
Yeah.
that culture is, and you may be the one, like I said, to pave the road, to say, hey guys, I can still get my work done, and devote time to my family, devote time to my kids. It's okay, I can make it work, right?
Yeah.
And if you have a culture that actually fosters that, and let you grow in that, then that's definitely a place that you will thrive in and grow in, if
Yeah.
anything. So, and if it's not, then I would look for a company that actually
Yes.
fosters that type of that type of environment.
Yeah, and even long before I was teaching, I had a job where I was making a really big salary and I was doing very well, but it was extremely stressful.
Hmm.
And it was when I was pregnant with my daughter, and it was just bad. It was very toxic. And at that time, I mean, working in finance, I'm used to being one of few women. Um, and no one really like understood or respected those types of boundaries and things like that. So when I had her, I just goodbye and went
Yeah.
into teaching because I always wanted to be a teacher, and being a
Hmm.
teacher is a lot more family friendly. And that was all great until COVID happened, and that's its own little long story. But um yes, my current company is like phenomenally supportive, even, and my boss is um single. He
Hmm.
doesn't, and he's not ever going to really like get it, but he supports me, and he knows, like, if you want something to get done, I'm sorry, but have a mom do it. Like, we get it done, So I think he's I have proved myself, but I absolutely love it. And even with the kits, like, even when I'm working at doing vendor events and I'm representing my business, which I take very seriously, like, I'm still a professional. I mean, half the time I will only go to events where well, of course it's going to be kid friendly, but where my kids can go and have fun. I'm going to
Hmm.
have one on my hip, the other one's going to be running around talking to customers. And it's sort of like, if you're going to be a customer and that's kind of weird for you, you should maybe go keep walking, because
Yeah,
this is a family business. And
that's right.
that's just kind of how I see it all.
So I know you said this was a long story, but I'm just curious. So you left during COVID teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah, I left
hmm
in 2021, and I feel like we probably left for very similar reasons.
Yeah. I, w- yeah, COVID just, it made it so hard. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you experienced this, but it just zapped all the fun out of teaching. And when I was spending like 70% of my day washing hands, um, which we know why we did that. But um, I also I'm sort of I don't want to say caretaker because it's a little bit more aggressive, but I play a really big role. I have a very close relationship with my grandparents. And we've, back in Texas, we lived on the same street. Here we live a little bit further apart now, but we're very close, and they were very high risk. They still are. And we, we played it really safe for a long time to sort of protect them, especially before the vaccines were out, et cetera. Um, and they ended up getting COVID this past September, and they
Oh
were both
no.
hospitalized. They're
Oh my
fine.
gosh.
Yeah, they recovered
Good.
and they were okay, but
Good.
um teaching seemed like a not so great fit for them being very high risk, and then my
Mm.
daughter being really young. Um and then this other position fell into my lap, and it just gave me so much flexibility. I just couldn't say no.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that everything works out as it should. So, or as it's meant to be. So, um, but one day I would like to go back to teaching in some capacity, but the kids do allow me to do that.
Hmm.
So, um, it's been great to find that outlet. I miss all the hugs though.
Yeah.
You don't get as many of
Yeah. And I imagine, doing online teaching or having to change the way you taught with, you said second grade?
them. Hmm.
Yeah, that had to have been, I mean, at
Tough.
least with the high school, they're
Yeah.
on their computers, they understand how to do that. But when, in second grade, just like you were talking about, you're learning a lot of things. Everything is hands-on. You are working with the senses, and to have it all taken away, essentially, I imagine made your job very difficult and everyone's job very difficult who was, an
Yeah,
elementary
it was
school
sad.
teacher.
It was
Yeah.
sad. Yeah.
It
Yes, it's a
really
really
is.
hard job, and you're like, I really actually need those hugs to keep me going,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
Oh.
that's
Yeah.
awesome, though. I mean, getting hugs from your students. I don't think you got hugs, did you, Brittany? Or did you? You did?
Yeah, I got hugs. I got a
You
lot
were
of high
you
fives,
were a
and
fun high school teacher,
Sure.
though.
Yeah.
She
yeah,
really
I,
was.
I really did enjoy my job. I really loved being a teacher.
Yeah.
But towards the end of it all, it just,
What did
that's
you
a whole nother
teach?
conversation. I was a high school Spanish teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, was that a requirement? What, or was it sort of an elective?
It's an elective, but if you wanted to go to a 4-year university, you had to have 2 years of Spanish
Language.
or a foreign language, and all we
Yeah.
had was Spanish. Hmm.
Oh, wow. And in that role, you taught multiple grades too, I imagine, right?
Yeah, so 9 through 12, 3 different class periods. But I was very interactive in my class. Like we had interactive notebooks. We did a lot of partnering. We sang songs for like everything. We had like hand gestures for things. So yeah, when we switched and with COVID and moving everything to online, it took a lot of that out. So it took a lot of research on my end to figure out how to still make things interactive and fun through an online experience, which I did figure out, and I, felt it was pretty successful with that. But honestly, I think for me at the end, it was the parents.
Mm,
And a lot of stuff coming down through administration and just what everyone outside of a teacher and school position, their opinion of what you should be doing and what should be happening in your classroom when they've never actually been in the position before. It all just kind of came crashing
yeah.
down. I was like, you know what, I can't.
You needed some sensory kits, Britt. That was what you were
Needed some
missing.
sensory
You needed.
yeah.
That's what you needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some sensory
I
kits.
think I sense a trend, and something that I want. A lot of this is a passion for me, but a lot I do for my kids. I want my daughter to see um, what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And I also just, I really do want this to be a full time support my family with it one day. Um, because I think if you want something and you want something to be on your own terms, like I want to teach on my terms. I don't really want you to tell me or follow your regulations or anything like that. You kind of just have to go out and get it or do it yourself. So if you like with y'all's podcast, you saw that not enough people were talking about the in between moments. They were just like talking about, oh, I wrote a best-selling novel, or that part of it. So you went out and made it, and I think that's what I want my kids to see, but especially my daughter. Um, you're
Yeah.
just you can't really rely on anyone to increase your salary, or
Yeah.
um,
So
you gotta
true.
go do it for yourself,
You do
even
it
if
for yourself.
yeah, even if you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night. It's all it's
Yeah.
how you get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
for your business, back to your creative kits, could you share with us? Do you have any goals for 2023 that you'd like to share with our
Mm.
listeners, or things that you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, definitely. I had mentioned it sort of at the beginning, but my big goal is to establish a subscription service. So,
Yeah.
um, and I wouldn't stop making I can't find a better word right now or better term, but like one-off kits. I wouldn't stop producing those and being able to sell those at vendor events and pop-up shops. But I want to be able to offer a subscription service to where parents can get a bigger kit. And I thought I had my prototype nearby. I'm working on a prototype pizza kit, so it's a bigger subscription, um, more more subscription service, like big box that comes with um, a lot of stuff to really make a big experience, like a chef hat, um,
Hmm,
all the different dough to make your
cool.
own pizza. I'm designing like a placemat, so I'm gonna scale a little bit bigger with the concept of the kits. Um, I'll still have my cute containers in there for storage, but I'm gonna scale
Nice.
bigger, and I'm gonna work toward creating a community where I can have those teaching resources available, and try to do that electronically to save some trees a little bit. Um, and so that's a really big goal. And
Yeah, it
that's really
is.
the by the end of 2023, I'd like to have it scaled just a little bit bigger, and keep up with my in-person events, because the community aspect for me is just really important.
So you
Yeah.
touched upon it briefly. I just wanted to go back to it for our listeners in case they didn't catch it. Advice that you have for our listeners that are starting out with a new business and then juggling having young kids. Like, what is some advice that you have for our listeners out there?
Um, I would say find a way to involve your children,
Hmm.
and your family, and don't isolate yourself or shut yourself out. Of course, for me, it's easier because what I am doing is completely kid centric. Um, but I try, and at times it can be completely aggravating and counterproductive to have my 4-year-old help me with kids.
Hmm.
But I do involve her, um, because it helps me feel like if my family is involved, this is a family thing, and I'm not completely taking my time away from them.
Yeah.
Um, and it's family oriented. Of course, that's a little bit tougher if you were to do something like um, go back to school to become a CPA. Um, but I think so often we we don't talk about what we're doing with our kids.
Hmm.
And if I was doing something like going to be a CPA, like I would stop and explain that to my daughter, like this is why I'm doing this, this is why it's important. Um, and find a way to involve her. Even if I was sitting there and I was having to study for licensing, I would sit her next to me and give her a pretend book
I
to
love that.
pretend study.
Yeah.
Um, that's my advice. But also to establish boundaries.
Hmm.
So it's just really easy to get consumed. Um, I this happens to me like every day. This right here.
Yeah.
So easy to get sucked in, and I find it happens like every day if I'm doing bath time because of multitasking. So that answers another question. How are you getting it done? Well, I'm multitasking a lot. Um, I'm doing bath time with the kids, and I'm sometimes on my phone responding to questions on Etsy or whatever the case may be. And my daughter will call me out on it. And so I do try to establish boundaries, and
Yeah.
it's really hard, and I
Yeah.
fail about half the time. Um, but so to answer that question, my two biggest pieces of advice is try to make the boundaries, even though it's hard to detach. Anytime you're a
Hmm.
small business owner, because you can't turn that off.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Like y'all
Yeah.
know, if you're engaging, looking for folks to bring on here or anybody, you can't. There, it's not really 9 to 5. You don't
Yeah.
turn it off. I can have a boundary with my full-time job. I can very much
Yeah.
like literally shut my office doors and walk away. But with this, um, I've completely exhausted myself signing up for too many vendor events. I've stressed myself out, and I have learned the hard way that you're just trying to shove in as much as you can in the beginning when you're trying to establish yourself and make a name for yourself. It's honestly, it's not really worth it. I quickly made up a rule. I only do, after learning the hard way, I only do 2 vendor events a month. I try to
Yeah.
limit to that, do a weekend, have a weekend off, um, and take on a concept of I'll get done what I can get done. Like
Yeah.
if I'm preparing for a vendor event, in the very beginning, like December around Christmas, I would stay up until 2 a.m. making kits.
Oof.
And now I'm gonna be like more the past couple events, I would stay up until about 11:30 or midnight and just say when I get done is what I get done. If people like it, we can set something up on Etsy, we can make things happen, but it's gonna be okay. So
Yeah.
the time management, the boundaries, and involving your family as much as you can because no one else is gonna support you better than them.
Yeah.
I love
Good
that you said that. I
advice.
don't think anybody has mentioned as advice to get your family involved. So I really do love that. And I think that resonates with us because that's exactly what we're doing with the podcast. Is we've got each other, and it really
Yeah,
does help
I
because
love that.
because it's there's 3 of us bouncing ideas back and forth. So it's been really a blessing to have my family here doing this with me. Before we close out, Kaeley, could you share with us how people find you on social media, your handles, your websites, all that fun stuff, so people can go and snag at these creative kits?
Yes, it is all Facebook and Instagram and Etsy. It's all KCR Creative Kits. It's all one word. So if you type that into Facebook, that's my Facebook page, KCR Creative Kits. That's the Etsy shop, and Instagram is KCR Creative, because on Instagram I think that the kits part was taken.
Oh no.
um, but that's all of that, and anybody that is like listening or tuning in, just as a thank you, if anybody wants to hop onto Etsy and order, um, I'll have a custom promo code that I can share for the users. Should I share that now? Well,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So it's just going to be Wayward 15. So if you're listening,
Yeah.
Wayward 15 to get a discount in there.
Love
Oh my gosh.
that. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Um,
Okay, Lee, go ahead. Keep going.
I actually don't know what I was going to say.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was going to say it has been a blast having you on here. I love these kits. Even if you're an adult, you need to go get one, because I've been like squishing my fingers in the Play-Doh while we've been doing this podcast. You clearly have such a passion for this. I love that you bring education into it, and that you're focusing on just building up our children and keeping your family involved in your business and making sure that kids have opportunities to explore and use their senses. So it has been such an honor and a pleasure having you on here.
Well, thank you.
Yes, anytime. I think we're gonna try to have everyone come back next year and see how everything went with their year.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for weeks, and this was exactly the experience I wanted it to be. I
Oh, good.
completely appreciate what the three of you are doing and how you're supporting folks and your story. It's so unique and it's so special, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of your story. So thank you for having me on here.
Anytime.
Look
We
forward
loved having you.
to coming back. I hope so.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Mom, do you want to close this out?
Absolutely. Thanks again, Kaeley, for joining us tonight. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. We are the Wayward Lasses, reminding you to keep it real. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Thanks for stopping by.
everybody.